Hey you guys, it is I, your very own AMARU, and I'd like to welcome you to a brand new episode of Food and the Single Guy. Now this episode of Food and the Single Guy is somewhat of a requested video. One of my longtime viewers requested that I show him how to tenderize salted beef the old-fashioned way. Now I have used salted beef on many an episode in this web series, and you know about the use of salted beef in our cuisine. You know, back in my country, it is a cut of meat, a type of meat that we use a lot in our cooking. Because you have to understand that in our cooking, our culture, the black culture in my country, we are very big on one-pan dishes. And because the country is such a multicultural country, all of the other cultures have now adopted that way of cooking. So one-pan dishes in our country, that's nothing new. It's nothing strange or anything like that. So salted beef is one of those cuts of meat that we use regularly, especially in the black cuisine. Now, I'm going to explain to you on this video how to tenderize the salted beef in water as opposed to tenderizing it in the pressure cooker, because I think that I've explained to you, I've shown you maybe once or twice, I don't remember, how to tenderize it in the pressure cooker, but I'm going to show you today on this episode how to tenderize it the old-fashioned way. But before we move on to that, I just have to give you a little bit of a backstory, because salted beef falls into the category of dried shrimp, smoked chicken, smoked fish, that sort of thing, preserved fruits. Back in the olden days, the people didn't really have refrigerators or anything like that, so they had to make do, and they had to come up with creative ways to preserve their foods. So hence the drying of the fresh shrimp in the sun, hence the smoking of the fish, the catch of the day, smoking the fish, preserving certain cuts of meat and pork in salt just so they could use it at a later date. So hence the salted beef. Okay? And as I said earlier, salted beef is somewhat of a staple ingredient in my country's black cuisine. I will try to explain to you what makes salted beef so special in our cooking. The meat itself is preserved in a lot of salt. And with everything, salt too has a flavor, it has a scent. When you tenderize the salted beef, when you bring it to a boil in a lot of water to get rid of the excess salt, the flavor of the salt remains in the meat. Not the salty taste, but the flavor, the scent of the salt. And that in itself adds a very delicious, very distinctive flavor to your dish. And that is why we use salted beef. As I said before, I'm going to show you on this episode how I tenderize my salted beef. And when I received this comment from my viewer, I decided, well, I'm not just going to show you how to tenderize the salted beef, I'm going to show you how to make stewed salted beef, because that is also a dish from our country. And it's a very simple dish, it's a very hearty dish, it's a very delicious little dish, and I think you're going to love it. Alright, so without further ado, let us move ourselves into the kitchen so I can show you how to do the do. Okay, you guys, so here we have my salted beef, and salted beef is sold two ways. It comes in a brine in a big bucket, and they take the cuts of meat out of the brine, put it in a little plastic bag for you. You then go home, tenderize it, and use the beef in your cooking. But it also comes pre-packaged, vacuum sealed. I don't like that kind. I'd much rather prefer this kind, the fresh kind, because we believe that they add a lot of food coloring to the pre-packaged kind to make it look a deeper shade of red. So that is why I always go for this kind. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to wash the meat, just rinse it with water, just like so. There we go. So next what we're going to do, we're going to place this beef in a pot of water and we're going to bring it to a boil. So we're going to cook the beef in a generous amount of water. And there we have it, the People's Exhibit A. As you can see, we have a generous amount of water, and in that generous amount of water we are going to pre-cook the salted beef. The reason we do that is because I always tell you, you need to wash your meats before cooking, before using, before ingesting. And salted beef is cured in a lot of salt. It has gone from one hand to the next. So The way we do it in my country, the old-fashioned way, we bring it to a boil just to make sure that all the dirt comes out of the meat, so to speak. You will see in the next clip that it will generate froth at the top, a little bit of foam. You remove that, you allow it to cook for another 10 to 15 minutes, and then you change the water, and that is when you will now actually tenderize the beef, if that makes any sense. All right? All right, you guys, you see what I'm talking? So we are now going to remove the froth, just like so. Okay, you guys, so next what we're gonna do, we're gonna allow this to continue to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then we're going to change the water, and then we're going to start the cooking process all over again. Okay, you guys, so it's been about 15 minutes. We are now going to add fresh water to the beef and start the cooking process all over again. And as you can see, the water has taken on a brownish color. As I mentioned earlier, meat goes from one hand to the next. You don't know whose hands are clean. You don't know what dirt lands on top of the meat and all of that stuff. So that is why you wash, you clean everything you ingest. So in addition to that, you guys, another reason why we add fresh water to the beef is to make sure that you don't continue to cook the salted beef in the same salty water and causing you to not get rid of the excess salt, okay? So that is another reason why we add fresh water to the beef. So let's get to it. All right, you guys, so as you can see, I've added some fresh water to the pot. We are now going to actually tenderize the salted beef, and whenever I tenderize salted beef the old-fashioned way, this way, I always like to add some bay leaves and some pimento corns to the water, as well as a clove of garlic, just like so. And this is the way I do it, you guys. I find that the bay leaf and the garlic add extra flavor to the beef while it is tenderizing. All right? So we're gonna allow this to come to a boil, and I'm gonna let you know exactly how long it takes before the beef is tender, or to my liking. All right? All right. Okay, you guys, so it's been about a half an hour, and as you can see, most of the water has evaporated. And the way you check to see if the meat is tender, you simply cut a small section of it and then you taste it. And I did that just now, as you can see right here. Let me see if I can show you. See, right here. I cut a small section of the meat and I tasted it, and it was very tender. And by the way, you want to make sure that you don't end up with pulled beef, okay? You don't want the beef to be stringy. That is not what we want. You want the beef to be tender, but it should still be intact, all right? All right, so let us continue. All right, you guys, so next what we're gonna do, we are going to cut the beef into nice chunks, all right? Not too small, not too large, all right, just bite-sized cubes, if you will. And I always like to cut mine at an angle, just like so. See? Nice and cute. There we go. So I'm going to try to show you what I'm talking about as far as the tenderness of the meat. As you can see, it stretches, right? It's very tender, but it doesn't come apart. It's not like we're making pulled beef or anything like that, if that makes any sense. So when you're tenderizing this yourself, keep that in mind. So next what we're gonna do, we're gonna stew the salted beef with the roughly chopped onion and the tomato and about 5 to 6 cloves of finely chopped garlic. We're also gonna add a couple of slices of galangal root, and this is what it looks like. This is also known as sweet ginger, and it is related to the ginger family, but it doesn't contain the fiery taste that ginger does, okay? This one is very sweet and very mild, and I love it. And you can use not just the root part, but you can also use the stem. This part also contains a lot of flavor. So let us continue. Okay, you guys, to my pan I've added some oil, and the oil is reasonably hot. We're now going to add a little bit of shrimp paste powder, also known as trasi. Just a little bit. Just like so. I'm gonna give it a quick stir. Ooh, baby, when I tell you it smells delicious. So next what I'm gonna add is the galangal root. There we go. And you want to give it a continuous stir for about a minute. And after about a minute, you're going to add the garlic. So after about a minute, we're going to add the onion. There we go. And of course, we're going to give that a stir too. And don't cook this on high heat, you guys. Medium heat will do just fine. At this point, you will add a little bit of black pepper. After about a minute and a half or so, we're going to add the tomato. I'm also going to add 2 fresh bay leaves. I'm going to give that a stir. And then I'm going to cover the pan and I'm going to allow this to simmer on low heat for about 10 minutes. Okay, you guys, so it's been about 10 minutes. And the tomatoes have wilted significantly. We're going to give this a bit of a stir. Just like so. And when I tell you it smells delicious, oh my word, absolutely delicious. So now we're gonna add some tomato paste. So let us stir the tomato paste into this goodness. Honey, yes baby. This is looking good, this is smelling good. So next what we're gonna add is the salted beef. And of course we're gonna coat the beef with the sauce. Yeah baby, this is what we're talking about. It is looking good, it is smelling good. Ooh, honey. Now you guys, I want you to keep in mind that the salted beef is still very salty. So be very mindful before adding any additional salt, okay? Alright, now before we cover the pan and allow this goodness to simmer, of course we have to add the Scotch bonnet pepper. Oh yes! And now we're going to cover the pan and we're going to allow this to simmer for a good 10 minutes on low heat. Now what do you think about the final presentation, my beautiful people? Doesn't it look gorgeous? Baby, let me tell you, it was gorgeous indeed. I am not gonna lie to you. Now, if you can find salted beef in your neck of the woods and you want to try to make this dish yourself, let me know how it turned out because I'm always genuinely interested in hearing from you. In the meantime, do be well, take care, happy cooking, happy eating. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. And until we meet again, my friends, bye.